There is someone in your life whose presence feels unusually intense, almost as if every interaction carries more weight than it should. You've tried to understand it, tried to explain it away, even tried to ignore it, but something about this person keeps pulling your attention back. It feels like a cycle. One moment of clarity followed by confusion, one moment of peace followed by disruption. What you are experiencing is not random, and it is not without purpose. This person represents an assignment that was allowed into your life for a deeper reason tied to your growth. God often uses people as instruments of transformation, and not all of them come wrapped in comfort. Some arrive as challenges, as disruptions, as mirrors that reflect parts of you that are ready to evolve. The person tends to trigger reactions within you that you may not fully understand at first. You may feel more emotional around them, more sensitive, more aware of your limits or your insecurities. That is not a weakness being exposed. It is an area of your life being revealed for healing and strengthening. What makes this connection powerful is not who they are on the surface, but what they activate within you. They may test your patience, your boundaries, your self-worth, and your ability to remain grounded. In moments where you feel pushed, overlooked, or misunderstood, you are being shown exactly where your inner work needs to happen. This is how elevation begins. Growth rarely comes from ease, it comes from friction, from the moments that force you to choose who you are becoming rather than who you have been. You might find yourself asking why this person continues to show up in your life, especially when their presence feels draining or confusing. But the question is not why they are there, it is what their presence is revealing. Every repeated pattern is a message. Every emotional reaction is a signal. Instead of focusing on changing them or figuring them out, you are being called to observe yourself. How do you respond when you feel disrespected? Do you speak up or stay silent? Do you hold on when you should let go? Do you give more than you receive, hoping it will eventually be returned? These are the real questions behind the connection. The person becomes a mirror that reflects your patterns back to you, not to shame you, but to awaken you. They highlight where you may be overextending, where you may be tolerating less than you deserve, and where you may be ignoring your own intuition. Each interaction is an opportunity to respond differently, to choose growth over the realm, awareness over reaction. It is also important to understand that not every assignment is meant to last forever. Some people are seasonal, and their role is complete once the lesson has been learned. Holding on beyond that point only prolongs the cycle and delays your progress. Recognizing this requires honesty with yourself, the kind that does not make excuses or avoid truth. As you begin to see this connection for what it truly is, something within you will shift. The confusion will start to fade, replaced by clarity. You will no longer feel controlled by the dynamic, because you will understand it. And with understanding comes power. You are no longer caught in the cycle, you are observing it, learning from it, and rising above it. This is the hidden assignment. It was never about them. It was always about you becoming stronger, wiser, and more aligned with who you are meant to be. There comes a point where you begin to realize that your emotions, while powerful, are not always truthful. They can be influenced by attachment, history, hope, and even fear. When it comes to the person, this becomes especially clear, because the connection often feels emotionally charged, pulling you in different directions at once. One moment you feel certain about stepping back, and the next you feel drawn in again, questioning everything you decided. This is where discernment becomes essential, because without it, you remain caught in a loop driven by feeling rather than truth. Discernment is not about becoming cold or distant. It is about seeing clearly, beyond what is said, beyond what is promised, and beyond what you wish were true. The J person may present themselves in ways that keep you emotionally invested. They may say the right things at the right time, show just enough effort to keep your hope alive, or create moments that feel genuine and meaningful. But discernment asks you to look deeper than moments and focus on patterns. Patterns do not lie. They reveal consistency, intention, and truth over time. If someone repeatedly brings confusion into your life, that confusion is not accidental. If their actions and words do not align, that misalignment is not something you are meant to ignore. And if you constantly feel unsettled, unsure, or emotionally drained after dealing with them, that feeling is not something to dismiss. It is a signal that something is out of alignment. The challenge is that emotions often try to rewrite these signals. You may tell yourself they didn't mean it that way, that they are going through something, or that things will change if you just give it more time. While compassion is a beautiful quality, it can become dangerous when it blinds you to reality. Discernment allows you to hold compassion without sacrificing clarity. You can understand someone's struggles without allowing those struggles to disrupt your peace. When you begin to operate from discernment, your perspective shifts. You stop focusing on potential and start focusing on reality. You stop holding on to what could be and start accepting what is. This can feel uncomfortable at first, because it often requires letting go of illusions you have created to make sense of the connection. But that discomfort is necessary, because truth always replaces confusion with clarity. Another important aspect of discernment is learning to trust yourself again. The J person may have caused you to question your instincts, especially if their behavior has been inconsistent. You may have ignored your inner voice in the past, choosing to give them the benefit of the doubt, even when something felt off. But that inner voice never stopped speaking. It was always there, guiding you, warning you, trying to bring you back to alignment. Now is the time to listen. When something feels wrong, do not rush to explain it away. Sit with it, observe it. Allow yourself to acknowledge what you feel without immediately trying to change the narrative. This is how trust is rebuilt, not through external validation, but through honoring your own awareness. As you strengthen your discernment, you will notice that your reactions begin to change. You will no longer feel the same urgency to respond, to fix, or to chase clarity from someone who thrives in confusion. You will become more grounded, more observant, and less emotionally reactive. This does not mean you stop caring. It means you start choosing how and where to invest your energy. The power in this shift is undeniable. You are no longer at the mercy of your emotions, nor are you influenced by someone else's inconsistency. You are guided by truth, by awareness, and by a deeper understanding of what you deserve. And once you reach that level of clarity, it becomes impossible to unsee what has been revealed to you. There is a quiet struggle that happens within you when you begin to realize that something in your life is no longer healthy, yet you still feel a pull to maintain it. You care, you understand, and you don't want to hurt anyone, but at the same time, you feel the weight of constantly giving more than you receive. This is where the lesson of boundaries begins, and it is one of the most difficult but necessary steps in your growth. The J person often enters your life in a way that challenges your ability to say no, to step back, and to choose yourself without hesitation. You may have been conditioned to believe that being kind means always being available, always being understanding, and always giving people another chance. But over time, this way of thinking starts to drain you. You find yourself feeling exhausted, emotionally overwhelmed, and even resentful, not because you are a bad person, but because you are ignoring your own needs. Boundaries are not about becoming less loving. They are about becoming more honest with yourself about what you can and cannot continue to tolerate. The J person may not openly demand your energy, but their behavior often creates situations where you feel obligated to respond. They may reach out only when it suits them, expect your understanding without offering the same in return, or create cycles where you feel responsible for maintaining the connection. Without clear boundaries, you begin to adapt to their patterns, adjusting yourself in ways that slowly take you out of alignment. Setting boundaries requires you to break that pattern. It means recognizing that your time, your energy, and your peace are valuable, and not everyone deserves unlimited access to them. This can feel uncomfortable at first, especially if you are used to putting others before yourself. You may worry about how they will react, whether they will misunderstand you, or if you will come across as cold or distant. But the truth is, anyone who truly respects you will also respect your boundaries. Guilt is often the biggest obstacle in this process. It can creep in quietly, making you question whether you are doing the right thing. You may feel like you are abandoning someone, or that you are being too harsh. But you have to understand that protecting your peace is not something to feel guilty about. It is something to take responsibility for. When you constantly ignore your own limits, you are not helping anyone. You are only teaching others that it is acceptable to overstep them. The J person may react when you begin to change. They may question your distance, try to pull you back into old patterns, or even make you feel like you are the problem. This is not because you are wrong, but because your growth disrupts the dynamic they have become comfortable with. When you stop overgiving, when you stop explaining yourself excessively, and when you stop accepting less than you deserve, it forces a shift. In that shift, the truth becomes clearer. Either they begin to meet you at a healthier level, respecting the space you have created, or they resist, revealing that they were more invested in access to you than in truly valuing you. Both outcomes serve a purpose, because they give you clarity without confusion. As you continue to stand firm, something inside you strengthens. You begin to feel more grounded, more in control, and more aligned with yourself. You no longer feel the need to constantly prove your kindness or justify your decisions. You understand that real love, whether for yourself or others, does not require self-sacrifice at the cost of your well-being. This is where your power returns to you, not in loud declarations, but in quiet confidence, in the ability to walk away from what disturbs your peace, in the strength to say no without explanation, in the awareness that your energy is sacred and must be protected. Boundaries are not walls to shut people out. They are standards that define how you deserve to be treated. And once you fully embrace that, you will never again feel the need to shrink yourself just to keep someone in your life. There comes a moment when everything inside you becomes still, not because the situation has changed, but because you have. The confusion that once clouded your mind begins to lift, and in its place, there is a quiet understanding. You start to see the connection for what it truly was, not what you hoped it could be. The emotional highs and lows lose their grip on you, and the need for answers slowly fades. This is the point where release begins, not as a sudden decision, but as a natural result of your growth. Releasing the J person is not about anger or resentment. It is not about proving a point or making them realize your worth. It is about choosing yourself in a way you may have never done before. For so long, your energy may have been tied to trying to understand them, to fix what felt broken, or to hold on to something that felt meaningful. But now, you begin to understand that not everything that feels significant is meant to stay. There is a difference between holding on with purpose and holding on out of age and pita or shapi. When you hold on out of the unodila, you are repeating patterns that feel familiar, even if they are no longer healthy. You convince yourself that things will change, that time will fix what has been consistently unstable, or that your patience will eventually be rewarded. But growth brings clarity, and clarity removes the need for those illusions. As you begin to detach, you may notice moments where the old feelings try to return. A memory, a message, or even silence can stir something within you. But this time, you respond differently. You observe the feeling without allowing it to control your actions. You no longer rush to reconnect or seek validation. Instead, you remain grounded in what you have learned. This is what emotional freedom looks like, not the absence of feeling, but the ability to experience it without losing yourself. Choosing to release also means accepting what is, rather than resisting it. You stop asking why things didn't work out the way you imagined. You stop searching for deeper meanings in actions that have already shown you their truth. Acceptance does not mean you agree with everything that happened. It means you no longer allow it to disturb your peace. It is a quiet decision to move forward without carrying unnecessary weight. In this process, you begin to rediscover parts of yourself that may have been overshadowed. Your energy shifts. The space that was once filled with overthinking and emotional tension becomes open, calm, and clear. You start to invest in yourself again, your goals, your purpose, and your inner peace. This is where your true alignment begins, not dependent on anyone else, but rooted in your own sense of self. There is also a deeper realization that comes with this stage. You begin to see that the person was never meant to complete you or define your path. They were part of your journey, a chapter that contributed to your growth, but not the destination. Every challenge, every moment of doubt, and every lesson has shaped you into someone stronger and more aware. What once felt like a burden now reveals itself as preparation. As you rise from this experience, your standards naturally elevate. You no longer feel drawn to confusion or inconsistency. You become more intentional with who you allow into your space, more protective of your energy, and more aligned with what truly serves you. The version of you that tolerated less has evolved into someone who recognizes their worth without needing external validation. This is your breakthrough, not loud or dramatic, but steady and undeniable. You walk differently, think differently, and feel differently. The cycle has been broken, not because the other person changed, but because you did. And in that change, you have reclaimed your power. Now you move forward without hesitation, without looking back for closure that you have already given yourself. You trust the path ahead because you trust who you have become. The lesson is complete, the weight has been lifted, and what remains is clarity, strength, and a deep sense of peace. You are no longer attached to what was, because you are fully present in who you are becoming.